everybody. Welcome to GoLocal Live here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. It's 3 o'clock and I'm your GoLocal Live host, Rachel Nunes. Our first guest today is the reigning Miss Rhode Island USA, Daisha de Morinville. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm sure it's been a whirlwind year. It's drawing to a close. The pageant comes up this weekend, I believe.
Yes, this weekend.
So it's been a crazy year, I'm sure, for you. How do you feel as you come towards the end of your year?
My year has been absolutely amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better year. I've done so many events. I've traveled all over the U.S. and I got to compete in Miss USA, which was in Shreveport, Louisiana this year. It was my first time in Louisiana and I had the most amazing experience there. It's really just bittersweet coming to an end. I don't want to give up the title, but I'm really excited for the next girl to be able to experience what I have. So I'm excited for this weekend to see who the next Miss Rhode Island will be.
And last time you were here, it was late April. You were just getting ready to head off to Louisiana and go to the pageant. So tell us a little bit about competing in Miss USA.
Of course. So Miss USA was the craziest experience for me. I mean, it's so hard to figure out what my favorite points were in the pageant, but I would have to say while we were there, I got to go ziplining over alligators.
Oh, wow.
It was so awesome, and I got to hold an alligator for the first time, so that was something that I loved. And also I would have to probably say the Mardi Gras parade that we did. It was like almost 100 degrees outside. We were all sweating, but it was awesome because we had floats and we were throwing beads into the crowd and candy and all the kids were going nuts, and it was so much fun for us. After we finished, we were like, can we go around and do it again? We had so much fun, and all the girls from all the states were absolutely amazing. Sometimes people get like this idea with pageant girls and they're like, oh, did you guys like not get along? But I'm like, honestly, I can say I didn't have an issue with one girl. I loved all of them. They're all my sisters, and I'm just excited with my year. I don't regret anything with my year.
That's fantastic. It's so wonderful to hear such a positive experience. And so over the year, if you go on your official social media, you can see it's been a chock-full year for you while being a full-time college student, which I'm sure has been absolutely crazy. So what are some of your favorite events that really stand out from your year as Miss Rhode Island USA?
There's so many, but one that I always like to mention is the Oyster Festival here in Rhode Island. It was my first time ever going to the Oyster Festival. I'm not a huge seafood fan, which is weird because I'm from Rhode Island, but it was so awesome to see what the event was about because it was something that I wouldn't normally have gone to. And that's the one thing that I always like to mention with being Miss Rhode Island. It's really made me step outside of my comfort zone and go to things that I normally wouldn't go to in my own city. So that was really great. I got to meet amazing people at all these different events, and I mean, I didn't try the oysters, but it was a cool event to attend. And my teen, Miss Rhode Island Teen USA, she actually tried oysters for the first time. So she was more brave than I was.
And so you were kind of unique in the sense that this was your first ever pageant, and you just came right in, swooped right in, and took the title. What was it like coming in blind almost, just going in, trying it for the first time? What was that like?
For me, it was nerve-wracking at first because I never grew up being a pageant girl, so I really didn't know what to expect going into the pageant, and it made me a little nervous because I was competing against girls who have been competing for 5, 6, 7 years, so I felt like I just didn't really know what I was doing there. But I'm someone who always loves to challenge myself, push myself, and I'm just like, you know what, whatever the outcome is what it is. I just want to gain a good experience from it. And I kind of had that same mindset going into Miss USA too. Like, even if I don't leave with the title, I just want to say that I had a great experience, which I can say that for both pageants. So going into it, I was very open-minded. I got along with all the girls that I competed with for Miss Rhode Island, and I actually still talk to almost all of them. We have like a big group chat. So yeah, I just, I tried my best. I gave it my all. I just made sure I had fun on stage. I was super like bubbly, smiling, just having fun. And I guess that was just something that really stuck out to the judges. And when I was crowned, I was in complete shock. But it was great. I was really excited because that was the goal in the end.
And so what made you decide that you were going to enter the pageant?
I always love being asked this question because it's so random for me. The pageant, they want to advertise so that girls, want to apply. So I saw an ad on Facebook actually, and it was like, apply today for Miss Rhode Island. And at the time, I didn't really have a ton of stuff going on. I just was in school, so I was like, you know what, why not just give it a try? Like I said, I like stepping outside of my comfort zone and challenging myself. So I was like, why not? It's something that I can say at least I tried to do. So I applied right then and there, and then I got a phone call to do a little over-the-phone interview. And from there, they were just like, okay, prepare yourself and we'll see you in September to compete. And now here I am.
And so along those lines, what would you say to a girl who's maybe thinking about it, or who thinks like, oh, I'd love to be Miss Rhode Island, but like I'm not the right girl for it.
Yeah.
I don't fit the mold. What would you say to help people make the leap?
I always tell girls, always feel free to reach out to me, because I was in that same position where I felt, I was competing against girls who competed for so long, so I was a little discouraged at sometimes. But I just always say, don't doubt yourself, because that's when you start getting into your own head. And even at Miss USA, I would give some of the girls little pep talks and be like, don't get in your head, don't get in your head, because that's when you really start like second guessing yourself, and then you're like, can I really do this? So that's my best advice. And I know it's so like cliche to say, but just honestly be yourself, because that's exactly what I did going into the pageant. When I was on stage and when I was in the interview room, I just really stuck to who I was, and I would make little jokes with the judges, but not because I was trying too hard, but just because that's how I am, that's how I normally talk. And so, just go into it being yourself, very open-minded. And I mean, they always tell us at the end of the day, there can only be one winner. So you have to remember that going into it, so you're not too disappointed if you don't get the title. But I always tell girls, even if you don't win, come back and do it again. You can compete up until I believe it's 27 years old. So just keep trying. Why not?
No harm in going for it.
Yeah, of course.
And so talking a little bit about pageant culture, I know you said you've made a lot of great friends, and all the girls have been really supportive.
Yes.
And I know Miss USA, Miss America, they've kind of come under fire a little bit in past years, because there's the argument of it's glorifying maybe things that it's glorifying physical beauty, and is it really feminist to be walking around in high heels in a bathing suit? So there's the back and forth, and then on the other hand, people who compete in pageants will say, no, it's showing confidence and inner beauty. And what would you say of that controversy?
I mean, I agree with all the other girls. I was on stage, national television, walking in a swimsuit and 5.5-inch heels. And it can be nerve-wracking for sure, but for me, that honestly gave me the craziest boost of confidence. To be able to put myself in that position, I was very vulnerable. I allowed myself to be judged by others, and there's tons and tons of people at home watching. There was people in the arena watching, and it was just like, allowing myself to be that vulnerable gave me even more confidence, because I was like, hey, look at me, take me for as I am, and it doesn't matter what anyone else has to say. And I always tell girls, because there are a lot of girls who get nervous about competing in the swimsuit portion, because it is nerve-wracking, but I always tell them, just go out there and rock the stage. It doesn't matter if this person thinks you're great or this person thinks you're not. Like, you just have to have all that confidence in yourself, and you will do great and you'll succeed. And I personally have gained the craziest amount of confidence. Like, I feel like I'm not afraid of anything. I'm like, if I can walk in front of thousands of people in a swimsuit and 5.5-inch heels, like, I can do anything.
Exactly. what can't you do?
Yeah,
You've
exactly.
done it all now. And so talking about you a little bit, as your year comes to a close, you mentioned you're a full-time student at Johnson & Wales. So what are your future plans?
As of right now, my main goal is to finish my bachelor's degree. So I actually already have a degree in baking and pastry arts, and I am going for food service management now. So this is actually my senior year. Almost done. I'm almost there. So definitely just finishing out my year nice and strong. And then hopefully I want to go into the industry and just kind of gain experience until I'm able to open my own bakery. That's the goal.
That's the goal?
Yes.
And I know a lot of pageant contestants will have their focus for their year of maybe a cause that they really focus on for their year. Is there anything you've tried to bring awareness to or raise money to that's really important to you?
So we actually have done like tons of charity events, but me personally, I really wanted my platform to be advocating for the prevention of domestic violence, and I really stuck with that throughout the year, just because I felt like it was a situation that is it's a touchy subject and it's hard to talk about, but it's a subject that I felt needed to have some light brought to it. And being a title holder, you are in the great position to reach like tons of people that normally you wouldn't be able to. I mean, as just a regular person, I can talk to people and kind of get the word out, but as a title holder, there's so many more people that I can reach because so many more people are looking up to me and looking and seeing what I'm doing. So that was a great, being Miss Rhode Island was a great like position for me to really push that and be like, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to teach people about. And, you know, someone who might be in that situation may have just gained something from me talking about it. And, you know, that alone was just great for me. If I could just change one person's perspective or one person's life, like that's enough for me. So
yeah, to be able to use your platform to help raise awareness.
Definitely.
And you did mention you traveled all over. You went to Louisiana for the Miss USA pageant. Where else have you gone during your year?
So I traveled pretty close to Rhode Island. I didn't go too far, but I've been to Jersey and Delaware definitely quite a few times because actually Miss New Jersey and Miss Delaware USA are both kind of in my little production group. So we do a lot of things together. We got to do photo shoots together and all kinds of fun stuff. So it was nice to be able to travel to them often and see them a lot. I also traveled to New York quite a few times. Me and some other title holders went to New York Fashion Week. That was my first time ever at New York Fashion Week. So that was pretty awesome. And I actually got to go to New Jersey to shoot a Chi commercial, the Chi hair care commercial for Miss USA, which was aired on live TV. So that was pretty awesome. We spent all day there shooting, but it was great. And now I always like to say, if I ever want to travel anywhere in the US, I know someone in every state.
That's true. You can go visit people and find someone to hang out with. What a great way of approaching that.
I know.
And so we mentioned the pageant's coming up this weekend. What's it going to look like for you? What's your role?
So really, we have a pageant weekend. So it takes place September 7th, 8th, and 9th. So the 7th is really just the girls. They do their interview that day, and then they get to go home. So that day, I really am just going to be present for the girls if they have any questions before going into the interview room, because I remember being in that position, how nervous I was, like so nervous. And when I came out, I was like, oh my God, that was so easy. But I know what it's like to be in their shoes. So I really just want to be there and just talk to them. And, you know, if they have questions, I want to help them through it and be like, you know, it's okay to be nervous, but just go in there, do what you got to do. And then the 8th is prelims, so that's the competition. We run the full show, and I'll just be in the crowd watching that day, but we'll run the full show and the judges will pick their top 10. And then it's announced the final day, which is September 9th. It's a Sunday, and that's the day that I actually give up my crown. So on that day, I'll actually be on stage about halfway through the show, just talking about my year and how it's been for me, and, you know, give some advice to the next girl who will be crowned Miss Rhode Island USA. And then from there, we crown the new one.
But you do get to keep your crown. You don't have to give up your physical crown.
Yes, so I get to keep the crown and sash, which is awesome because, you know, maybe on some days I might want to wear it around my house or something. Who knows?
You know, sometimes when you're vacuuming, you
just pop the crown and sash
need to class up a little.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on your year. Enjoy your last 3-4 days of your reign.
Coming so fast.
I'm sure it's going to be a bittersweet week for you.
Definitely.
And of course, best of luck in your senior year as well. Everything's really coming together.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Daisha de Morinville. She is the current Miss Rhode Island USA. Pageant's coming up this weekend. You won't want to miss that. And we'll be right back with our next guest right here on GoLocal Live. Hey everybody, welcome back to Go Local Live here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Our second guest of the hour is Philip Matthew. He is one of the founders of Eve and Matthew, and their goal is to bring non-dairy milk to Rhode Island businesses. So tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, so Eve and Matthew is a non-dairy milk company that's producing soy, almond, and coconut milk, and we're specifically working with food services. So we've basically come up with a way of making these milks that makes it much more convenient for food services to offer more varieties, which is what their customers are demanding.
And so tell us a little bit about how did this all start?
Yeah, so I founded this company with a good friend of mine, Kevin Eve. We actually met each other building race cars at Brown University. And then we decided to found a company, started playing around with ideas, and made the natural transition from race cars to non-dairy milks.
Of course, natural transition.
Exactly, yeah. So about January, we came up with the idea, started asking people about it. It seemed like a good idea, so we ended up applying for Brown's Venture Accelerator program, the Breakthrough Lab, and participated in that program this summer and took the plunge in August, and now we're doing this full time.
Fantastic. And so what did make you guys decide to go with non-dairy milk? It seems like kind of a niche market.
It definitely is, but it's also a rapidly growing market. And what we realized is that when you make a plant-based milk, you effectively add a small amount of plant matter, so that's your almonds or your soy or your coconut, and then you add a bunch of water, blend it up, maybe add some sweetener, some flavor, and that makes your final product. So if you actually add less water, you can create a sort of almond cream or a concentrated product, and you can dilute that back down at the point of sale. So what we do is we make our products at about a 3-to-1 ratio. So a single pint of our product will produce a full half gallon at final volume. And so for food services, this is great because it takes a lot less space, it's a lot less packaging waste, and you can provide more options in less space at your point of sale.
So it's a lot then like a traditional beverage dispenser where you have, say, like a cola or a Sprite concentrate that you mix with water in a fountain. Is it a similar type of dispenser?
Absolutely, it's exactly that. We actually are using a juice dispenser. So the same thing, if you remember from college, the orange juice dispenser, we use one of those for our product as well. And so we can have, in a dispenser that's about this big, 4 different varieties of non-dairy options.
And so where do you source all of your milks from?
We source our products basically from wherever, but all in the U.S. So most of the almonds are grown in California. We are looking into oat milk. That's been a really popular thing, especially in coffee shops lately. And so we hope if we can do oat milk that we can source those locally to New England. And then we're also working on using local sweeteners, so potentially maple syrup or honey, to try to stay as connected to the local food scene as possible.
That's great. So you're bringing in different parts of the community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a big part of what we're doing is possible because Rhode Island has become a really great place for startups and especially for food startups. I mean, Rhode Island's definitely one of the best cities if you're a foodie, and for us, all the resources available to us made it the natural choice for where to start our company.
Fantastic. And so tell us a little bit about your rollout. You said you guys just went full-time in August, so
yes.
it's just been a few weeks
yes.
then. So how's that been going?
It's been pretty fun. I mean, we had to tell everyone that we were doing this full-time, running a milk company, but everybody's been super supportive, and it's very exciting. We've got a pilot program lined up this fall, so we're planning to work with between 3 and 5 different Rhode Island-based colleges and universities. I can't say exactly which ones yet because we haven't finalized our agreements with them, but I mean, it's Rhode Island, you'll recognize the names.
There are only a few to pick from.
Right, absolutely. And so we're planning to keep developing the product in college and university cafeterias this fall, possibly some other coffee shops too. We've had some good response from a couple local places. And then hopefully scale up to like a regional or a national rollout at some point next year.
So would you say that would be your target audience then, a larger scale organization like a university where you have the bigger need for bulk?
Yeah, so pretty much any location that consumes a significant volume could benefit from the sort of efficiency of using our product. And so colleges and universities, we got almost universal positive results from the 15 different schools we talked to. But coffee shops too, especially ones that do more volume, and also potentially some consumers. We're really interested in figuring out a way to go direct to consumers because there's plenty of people that would rather not carry home 3 heavy half gallons of milk and could instead carry a much smaller amount of our product, and it takes less space in your fridge. Who knows? So yeah, if anybody's out there that's interested in our product, you can always reach out to us on our social media or our website.
And so right now, how do you go about with distribution?
Yeah, so we're going to be working with local distributors to reach our food service clients, and then we hope to also do e-commerce for some of that direct-to-consumer stuff as well. Right now, we're just very local, so it might even just be us driving our product to the location, but eventually we hope to scale up and work with local distributors.
So is there anywhere where we can find this right now?
Not just yet. We're hoping by the end of the fall that we'll start being able to do more direct-to-consumer work. And definitely, if you're at one of the schools we're piloting it at, it might just appear one day in your cafeteria.
Keep your eyes out.
Yeah, so keep your eyes out for sure.
So what are your goals for the company, both in the near future and beyond?
Well, we think that this is just fundamentally a better way of doing non-dairy products. And so our hope is to grow it as fast as we can, try to get it in as many places as possible. So right now, that's all we're really focused on for the next couple of years. And then, going forward, both Kevin and I have interests in doing entrepreneurship. Maybe we'll move on to something else, maybe not. We'll see.
So do you think, right now, non-dairy milk seems to be the latest craze between coconut milk and almond milk and soy milk and, like you said, oat milk. Do you think it's a change in cultural approach to it, or do you think it's kind of a fad right now?
I think it's definitely a sustainable change, and I think the reason for that is the factors that are driving people to choose these options. I mean, there's sort of three things. There's obviously people with dietary restrictions that have to go non-dairy, but then we're seeing more and more people choosing these beverages for health reasons. They might fit better with their diet, or choosing them because they are more sustainable, generally speaking. And so those are all trends that are going to continue. We're going to keep moving towards healthy options. We're going to keep moving towards sustainable options. And so we think the growth in non-dairy is only going to continue.
And talking about more on an individual consumer level, you said you were interested in seeing about how you could get it into individual people's homes as well. Would that be more of an approach of like a subscription, like your old-fashioned milkman? You guys show up every 2 weeks or so with the milk, or would it be I'm going and picking up my concentrate at the supermarket?
We think the future is in more of the subscription model. I mean, that seems to be a trend all across industry. So we're really excited to explore that, and especially early on, it's much easier for a small company like us to sell our products online and deliver them than it is to get some space on a grocery store shelf. So it's probably going to be a combination. Ideally, we'll be in every grocery store in America and also available online, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Great. And can we find you on social media as well?
Absolutely. So you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at EMBevco, and then also evematthew.com.
Great. And so is there anything else you'd like people to know about your company? What would you say to someone who was maybe a little on the fence about it?
I would say if you haven't tried a non-dairy milk, you should definitely give it a shot. Some of them taste really good. Everyone's going to have the ones they prefer, but they're really delicious. So it's not just about if you can't drink dairy. They're a great option for pretty much everyone.
Do you think there are more benefits to drinking non-dairy milk as opposed to traditional milk?
I think it depends what you're looking for. So certainly there's a little less greenhouse gas emissions usually associated with a plant-based product, and less water consumption, although consumption for almonds is definitely a concern right now. But yeah, it sort of depends on your diet. I mean, anybody that's choosing these, you can pretty easily go online and figure out, is it a good fit for what you're looking for? Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, keep an eye out, local college students. Keep an eye out in your dining halls. You might be seeing the newest beverage dispenser popping up anytime soon, and everyone else here in Rhode Island might be coming to your local supermarket, your local coffee shop, even your local kitchen.
Maybe.
Thanks so much for joining us, Philip Matthew. He is one of the co-founders of Eve and Matthew. Thanks so much. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back here on GoLocal Live. Hey everybody, welcome back to Go Local Live here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Our guest now is Sarah Swift. She's the director of Hera Gallery down in Wakefield. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about Hera Gallery.
So we are an artist-run organization. We are a nonprofit. We are located down in Wakefield, Rhode Island in South County. We are actually the 5th oldest women's-run art cooperative in the country, which is really fantastic for the arts and for the nonprofit end of things.
That's fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about the history? When were you founded?
So back in 1974, a group of about 10 female artists recognized that they weren't getting the recognition. They felt so isolated in South County. They had, they were a stone's throw from New York City. They had networking in New York, and yet being in rural Rhode Island, they really felt that they didn't have a space for themselves where they could explore and transform and create together. And so it took a few years of really hard, dedicated planning. But this group of women came together. They found a space in what is now the Contemporary Theater in Wakefield, Rhode Island, but we're right down the street now. And they had a team. They built this gallery. They opened with a floor show, and it's been a miracle. It's been a miracle that they have been able to sustain this. It's really a testament to the hard work running a nonprofit, and especially a community space that focuses on promoting the artists more than making a profit is really, really fantastic.
Absolutely. And so what kind of artists do you showcase? Is it a group of members, or is it all female artists? Who do you show?
So we show everyone. We range from full members to student members, millennial members. We are run by a board. It's, I believe, 10 women, and our most recent gallery director, who is our first male board member, which is a big excitement. We have been run primarily by women from the start, and it is still run by a fantastic board of women, 3 of whom are founding members of Hera and have stayed through the duration of 45 years. And so it's really, it's a testament to their hard work, the ones that have really dedicated half of their lives to this gallery. And so our 2 consistencies is really being this community space and showing these artists. And so we do 11 exhibitions a year with artist talks, ranging, the art ranges from really modern contemporary stuff to fiber arts to, we cover every range, printmaking, sculpture, installation. We've had performance pieces, so we really try to be all-inclusive, both with the art and with who we work with.
So you show both male and female artists? We
do. That was a switch back, I believe, in the early 90s. As the wave of feminism sort of started to change and grow over time, the need for an inclusivity of the community really became apparent. And I think Hera really started to focus on trying to seek out different groups of people who felt like they weren't being represented.
And so who can join this? Is it all local artists? Do you get local college students, people from outside the state, or is it primarily local?
So it is primarily local. We have, I think our farthest away is in Boston, but she's a student and she comes in regularly into Rhode Island. Many of our members are women in Wakefield who either had heard of Hera and needed a community space to do their work. And we've started recently getting people, from Providence, and we have a member, John Gudula, who's in, Nicaragua a few months a year doing work down there, and he just joined us in the last month or so. And so it's sort of an always fluctuating, changing group of people, but it's a basis application process. We have a committee run by our board that looks through our applicants, anyone who's interested in being represented by a gallery who. I know for myself, I felt as though I would almost be laughed at going to these big name New York galleries, just fresh out of art school, incredibly passionate, but without the rep sheet. And I think Hera's a really wonderful spot for many of these emerging artists to get their footing.
So have you had your work showed there as well?
I have. So I actually had approached Hera initially as an artist wanting to show my artwork and found that this director's position was available. It was just sort of serendipitous, and I sort of told everyone to halt and put the artist application on the side for a moment and focus full time on being their new director. But back last October, I decided I'd gotten a handle and on the director's position, and I really wanted to focus on showing my own work. I graduated in painting, and I do printmaking and some installation work, and have recently been doing a lot of work with recycled materials, trying to create a more sustainable studio practice for myself. And my most recent sort of project is collecting straws and actually Providence Journal plastic bags, because they are already post-consumer recycled and are a variety of colors, which I love. And I am weaving them tapestry-like esque into these sort of huge paintings of recycled materials.
Interesting.
And so I had my first show back in March, and I'm continuing to show there with Hera.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about some of the other upcoming installations at Hera.
Yeah, so one that actually just opened last Wednesday on the 4th is a show that's actually up here in Providence at Brown University, an initiative that Hera's doing. The Hera Arts and Health group partnered with the Alpert Medical School of Brown University, and so we have a show that'll be there from September until the end of November it's called Our Voice, Our Choice, and it is exploring women's health and reproductive rights. And so that is a range of 10 female artists, all Hera members, many of them board members as well, who are exploring everything from mental health to aging to the system of healthcare. So that's a really fantastic show. That's right here in the city. Back at the gallery, we just had a show open this past week. Two of our full-time artists, Jocelyn Foy and Jason Smith, are going to be holding their opening reception actually this Saturday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. That is the 8th, September 8th. And Jason is doing really fantastic work about different indigenous cultures. He's studied 7 different cultures throughout sort of the history of time and has picked out these ones that really symbolize something special to him. And then Jocelyn is working with a really wonderful conceptual piece where she's speaking a lot about the line between political, personal, state, and church, how that separation is starting to sort of become grayed. And so she's got some really wonderful installations, these big chandeliers that she's handmade. So that'll be a really, really cool opening.
Sounds fascinating, and all of these are these really huge, broad topics. It's very interesting to talk about breaking them down through art, especially you're talking about healthcare. A lot of times you wouldn't think there'd be much of an intersection between health and art. It almost seems like they're on opposite spectrums, but yeah. It could be interesting to see how different people approach it and understand it.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that Hera's done really well with is sort of merging these controversial topics, whether it be, science or healthcare or women's rights. We can do artwork about social topics, political topics, anything that's really contemporary. And art, I find, has been a really wonderful platform for people to communicate and to have a dialogue about potentially uncomfortable topics. And I think more and more they're seeing the line between science and art and the medical and art. Yeah, it's exciting.
It is, yeah. It's a great way to start these really important conversations, especially here in Rhode Island. We have such a great art scene. We have so many great schools, and it's so interesting to see all of this talent brought together.
It really is, and it's been fun for me in the position that I am working in as their director to get to see, every month we do a new show, I get to meet these artists and hear their stories while we install the artwork, and that's been a real luxury just of the position there at Hera itself, getting to meet and talk with the community.
That's great. And so if the public would like to come visit? When can we come see?
So we are open Wednesday through Friday from 1 to 5, and then Saturdays 10 to 4, and we do by appointment as well. So if for some reason those hours don't work, you can always contact us. Our website is haragallery.org. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram, and so we're always updating with events, artist talks, showings, and so that's a real good way to stay linked. We also have our newsletter, which is on our website as well. You can put your email in and get all of our monthly updates.
Fantastic. And you did say you were located in Wakefield. What's the address?
We are 10 High Street. Yep, right in downtown.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us today to talk about all of the great, really interesting local art. We can never say enough about local artists. There's always something new, something different to talk about.
Thank you so much for having me.
We really appreciate it. Sarah Swift, she's the director of Hara Gallery down in Wakefield. It is the 5th oldest women's founded art location.
Art cooperative,
Art
yes.
cooperative. So
Still today.
Absolutely fascinating right here in Rhode Island. You can go check it out, and you can find out more information on their website as well. And we'll be right back right here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center with our last guest of the hour. Welcome back to Go Local Live. We're here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. Our last guest of the hour needs no introduction. He's Judge Frank Caprio. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us today.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here.
So first of all, congratulations are in order. You were recently honored by the Rhode Island International Film Festival with an award. Congratulations.
Well, that was particularly significant for me because it was number one, it was local. And Steve Feinberg is a dear, close friend of mine. So any award coming from that organization is particularly meaningful for me. And it gave me an opportunity to meet a whole bunch of people whose names I knew, but whose faces I didn't. So I made a number of new acquaintances and hopefully future friends. So it was a wonderful evening, particularly for my grandchildren. They came and they were just so happy. They were being filmed and they were taking pictures. And so when it was over, it was a family affair, and it was very, very rewarding for me.
Fantastic, and it definitely it was a very fun night. I was there myself. Actually, it was a great night, a lot of fun.
And they fed us.
The most important part.
Good food.
So let's talk a little bit about the reason for your award. Your show, Caught in Providence, is it's coming to network TV.
We will be on network TV beginning September 24th. It's being nationally syndicated, and so far it's been syndicated over 90% of the country. It'll be on for an hour a day. They're selling out 2 segments, half hour each. So it will be on 5 days a week for 1 hour a day, beginning September 24th. So we're really excited about that. It's been sold out in all of the major markets, New York, Los Angeles, California, obviously all of California and New England and Houston, and you name it. We've been syndicated there. And
so how does it feel to know that your show, once so local, just seen by a couple hundred people here in Rhode Island, how does it feel to really have it be shown all over the country?
Well, it's an amazing story, because we actually have been on public access for over 20 years. And it was just my brother Joe and myself and 2 cameras. And with the advent of social media, a couple of years ago, it began to be picked up on social media all over the world. And recently we were informed that we have 1.7 billion views worldwide. So it gives me, obviously, it gives me a great sense of satisfaction. It gives me a great sense of accomplishment. So we'll see what happens in the long run.
And so talking a little bit about the show, what made you want to start?
Actually, I did the show as a favor to my brother Joe, who was able to secure time on public access station, and he thought that was great because now he had this 2 hours a day that he had to fill, and he was so excited that he had the time, and then he discovered pretty quickly that he didn't have enough events to fill the time.
2 hours is a long time.
So it's nice to get the time, but you have to fill it. So that actually was my wife's idea that he come in and film the court program, and I objected. I didn't think it'd be a good idea. And then I conceded that we would give it a try and see how it worked out. And so actually for over 20 years, probably 25 years, you know, my brother Joe labored every day and edited the programs, filmed them, did all the running around, all the legwork. And then the magic call came from Deb Mount Mercury. Indicated that they would like to syndicate us nationally. So it's a very, very, very warm feeling, trust me.
And so what do you think makes your courtroom different from
Because we're real. We are not a studio show.
You're not Judge Judy.
Well, I'm not gonna, Judge Judy does a good job. I think she's well known, obviously, and she's been very successful, so you can't argue with success. We're different. We're real life. We deal with real court cases. It's completely 100% unrehearsed. So I have no idea what's coming before me when I go to court every day. And so everything is my interaction with the individuals who are coming to court. And it's amazing. You could not script the things that happen in life. You just can't script them. Some of the major producers in Hollywood I've talked to, and they says, we could never script what happens in your court. We wouldn't think up those things. We wouldn't think up those excuses. The youngsters, the little kids that come up on the bench that I love to bring up on the bench, you know, they say things that are just so exciting and so revealing as to what they're going through in their life. And the parents who are who are experiencing hardship because of lack of money and because of broken homes. And so we deal with real life experiences and real life problems. And there's really nothing quite like that on television. That is not a studio deal.
And so how often do you film the show? Are you in there every single day and you pick the most interesting?
No, we film for a week straight and then a couple of other days and then take 2 weeks off with the exception of a couple of days and then go back again the third week. And so every time I sit, we film everything that comes before me.
And so how do you choose what to include on the show? Do you include everything, or do you just find the most interesting?
All I do is I go to work and I leave. I don't decide what gets placed on TV. I don't edit the show. I have nothing to do with those episodes that get chosen and those that don't get chosen. I really have no interest in that at all. None.
You're just the talent.
I just go to work and they push me out and say, okay, you're done for the day.
And what do you think your show does for people? Why do you think it's important to have it out there?
I think it gives them a sense of dignity. It gives them a sense of self-respect. It gives them a feeling that they are being treated fairly. And I hear that so many times that at least someone listens to me. That's what I hear. And at least someone treats me with respect. And you would think that something so basic in life as to treating others with a sense of respect, you would think that'd be a given. But it's not. Unfortunately, in some of our institutions of government, it's really not the institutions of government, it's the people who are in those institutions of government and how they treat people. So.
And going along those lines, last week we had Jim Vincent in from the NAACP chapter of Rhode Island, and he was talking about how there's a low level of trust right now in Rhode Island's judicial system. And why do you think that is? Well,
I don't know. Actually, I feel good about the Rhode Island judicial system. I think the judges in Rhode Island respond to the needs of the state and of the individual. So my experience has been very positive with Rhode Island judges. So. I think life being what it is, that I would suspect that occasionally there are people like in every profession whose performance you would like to be different. But I would say that in my experience with the Rhode Island judiciary has been extremely positive.
And speaking on that as well, just last week, 3 senators in Rhode Island sent a letter to the governor calling for a more diverse judiciary in the state. Do you think that's a priority for the state?
Well, I think it's a factor that should be taken into consideration, obviously, with the changing demographics of our city and our state in particular. So the question is, should institutions of government reflect the demographics of the state? I would think. I don't think there should be a strict test. I don't think there should be a percentage, but I certainly think that we should balance it.
In general, that should be the goal.
That's a general rule, unquestionably.
Absolutely. And so what would you like to say to your viewers of Cotton Providence?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is be sure to watch on September 24th.
And what network will it
It'll be seen on Fox. Actually, locally, it will be seen on Channel 9 between 12 and 1 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And that'll be on 5 days a week. So we look forward to your viewership, to your comments, to your support, and to help us get off to a good start. We love your enthusiasm for the show. I get positive reactions in so many places. So.
And what would you say to someone to convince them to give your show a shot?
Well, if you haven't seen it, then I say just take a short period of time between 12 and 1, beginning on the 24th, and watch Court in Providence on Channel 9. And I think as a result of that you may find that the wheels of justice turn in Rhode Island in a very fair and even balanced sense.
And that's your goal then, to always be as fair and just and to give people as much dignity as possible.
I hear more often than not from people. Incidentally, with social media, we hear from people all over the world, and we have letters from China, from Russia, from France, from Italy, from Africa, from all over the world. And it's always the same thing: fairness, being treated with fairness, being treated with dignity. Those are the buzzwords, and every human being is entitled to be treated with respect.
Absolutely.
Regardless where the situation is. It's in the courtroom in which I sit. You notice I don't say it's in my courtroom, because it's not my courtroom. It's the courtroom of the people. I'm just a custodian of it for that short period of time, but we gather together.
What a fantastic approach. Well, thank you so much for coming in and telling us your story. And of course, congratulations on your award and for your national syndication of your show. I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting fall.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate you coming in.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And so stay tuned. Kate will be up in just a few minutes with her show at 4 o'clock, News and Politics. You won't want to miss that. It's another great day coming ahead of us. And so stay tuned for that here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. For now, I'm your GoLocal host, Rachel Loons.